Hey everyone, Steve Patterson here from Photoshop Essentials. In this video, I show you how to add multiple strokes around your text using layer effects in Photoshop. Specifically, I'll show you how to add rainbow color strokes, but you can use any colors you like. And you can add as many strokes as you like, up to a maximum of 10. I'll also show you how to save the strokes as a layer style preset so you can apply the effect to other text with a single click. And at the end, we'll look at a problem you'll face when adding a drop shadow to the effect and the easy way to fix it. Now, the option to add multiple strokes to the same layer was added fairly recently to Photoshop, so you'll need to be using a recent version. I'm using Photoshop CC 2020. If you like these videos, be sure to subscribe and let's get started. I've gone ahead and created a new Photoshop document with a simple white background. To add some text, select the Type tool from the toolbar. And then, in the Options bar, choose your font. I'm using HWT Gothic Round, which I downloaded from Adobe Fonts, but any font will work. I've set my type size to 72 points just to give me the largest preset size for now, and I've set my type color to black. Later on, I'll show you how we can change the color using layer effects. Click inside the document and add your text. I'll type the word rainbow. Then to accept it, click the check mark in the Options bar. To resize the text, go up to the Edit menu in the menu bar and choose Free Transform. Then click and drag any of the handles. If you're using Photoshop CC 2018 or earlier, you'll need to press and hold the Shift key on your keyboard as you drag to lock the aspect ratio in place. Make sure you leave enough room for the strokes we'll be adding around the text. Then move the text into place by clicking and dragging inside the Free Transform box. To accept it, click the check mark in the Options bar. In the Layers panel, the text appears on a type layer above the background layer. To add a stroke around the text, make sure the type layer is selected, then click the Effects icon at the bottom of the Layers panel and choose Stroke from the list. The options for the stroke appear in the Layer Style dialog box. Choose a color for the stroke by clicking the color swatch, and then choose a new color from the color picker. I'm setting my strokes to the colors of the rainbow: red, yellow, green, cyan, blue, and magenta, working my way from the bottom color to the top. So the first color I need is magenta. I'll choose magenta by setting the R or red value to 255, the G or green value to 0, and the B or blue value to 255. Then I'll click OK to close the color picker. Set the width of your stroke using the size option. I'll set mine to 12 pixels. Make sure you remember the size you choose here because we'll be adding this value to each new stroke we add to the text. Finally, set the position of the stroke to either inside the edges, outside the edges, or centered on the edges of your text. For this effect, I'll choose outside. And now we have our first stroke around the text. To add a second stroke, click the plus sign next to the stroke effect on the left of the Layer Style dialog box. A second stroke appears above the first. New strokes are always added above the previously selected stroke, and you can add as many strokes as you like, up to a maximum of 10. The new stroke shares the same settings as the previous one, so to choose a different color, click the color swatch, and then choose a new color from the color picker. I'll set my second stroke to blue by changing the R value to 0 and leaving G at 0 and B at 255. Then I'll click OK. But notice that we have a problem. We see our second blue stroke around the text, but the original magenta stroke has disappeared. The reason why it disappeared is that the new stroke is sitting above it. And because both strokes share the same size and the same position, the stroke on top is completely blocking the stroke below it from view. One way to fix that would be to change the position of one of the strokes. I'll select the magenta stroke, the one on the bottom, then I'll change its position from outside to inside. And now, with the magenta stroke on the inside of the text and the blue stroke on the outside, both strokes are visible. The only problem is that with one of the strokes now on the inside of the text, the letters look a bit too narrow. Plus, we still have more strokes to add, which means that this solution is not going to work. So I'll set the position back to outside. So how do we get the second stroke to appear around the outside of the first one? It's actually very easy. All we need to do is make the new stroke wider than the original, and then move the new stroke below the original. First, make sure the new stroke, the blue one, is selected. Then take the size of the original stroke and add it to the size of the new stroke. In my case, my new stroke is 12 pixels wide, so if I add the size of the original stroke, also 12 pixels wide, then 12 plus 12 gives me 24 pixels. Then move the new stroke below the original by clicking the down arrow at the bottom of the dialog box. Note that you can only move strokes above using the up arrow or below other strokes. You can't move a stroke above or below other types of layer effects. And now both strokes appear around the outside of the text. The magenta stroke is above the blue one, but because the blue stroke is twice as wide, it looks like they're both the same width. At this point, adding more strokes around the text is just a matter of repeating the same steps. First, add a new stroke by clicking the plus sign beside the stroke you just added. This will always be the stroke at the bottom. Then click the color swatch to choose a new color. And in the color picker, choose cyan by leaving R at 0, changing G to 255, and leaving B at 255. Then click OK. Increase the size of the stroke by adding the size of the original stroke, which in my case was 12 pixels. So 24 plus 12 gives me 36. Then move the new stroke below the previous one by clicking the down arrow. And we now have 3 strokes, cyan, blue, and magenta, around the text. Add a fourth stroke by clicking the plus sign beside the stroke on the bottom. Then click the color swatch, and in the color picker, choose green by leaving R at 0, G at 255, and changing B to 0. Then click OK. Next, add the original stroke size, so 36 plus 12 is 48. Then move the new stroke below the others by clicking the down arrow. And we now have a green stroke around the text. 4 strokes down, 2 to go. Add a fifth stroke by clicking the bottom stroke's plus sign. Then click the color swatch and choose yellow by changing R to 255 and leaving G at 255 and B at 0. Then click OK. Add the original stroke size, so 48 plus 12 is 60, and then click the down arrow to move the stroke below the others. And we have our yellow stroke. Only one more rainbow color to go. Add the 6th and final stroke by clicking the bottom stroke's plus sign. Again, you can add up to 10 strokes, but for our rainbow colors, we only need 6. Click the color swatch, and then choose red by leaving R at 255, changing G to 0, and leaving B at 0. Then click OK. Add the original size, so 60 plus 12 is 72, and finally click the down arrow to move the stroke below the others. And with that, all 6 rainbow color strokes have been added around the text. The only thing I don't like is that my text color is black, which doesn't really fit with the rest of the effect. What I really want is for the text to be white, so it matches the background. Now I could just click OK to close the Layer Style dialog box and then change my type color in the options bar. Or we can change the color using a color overlay layer effect. Still in the Layer Style dialog box, I'll select Color Overlay in the column on the left. Then I'll change the overlay color by clicking the color swatch. And in the color picker, I'll choose white by setting R, G, and B each to 255. Then I'll click OK, and now my text color is white. To save the effect as a layer style preset that you can quickly apply to other text, click the New Style button. Then give the new preset a name. I'll name mine Rainbow Strokes. Make sure Include Layer Effects is checked. But we didn't use any blending options, so you can leave Include Layer Blending Options unchecked. And unless you want to add the preset to your Creative Cloud library, uncheck Add to My Current Library. Then click OK to create the preset. And with the preset saved, click OK to close the Layer Style dialog box. In the Layers panel, all of the strokes we applied to the text, as well as the color overlay effect, are listed below the type layer. To show you how to quickly apply the preset, I'll delete the effects by dragging the word Effects onto the trash bin. And now we're back to the original black text. To apply the preset, make sure the type layer is selected. Then, if the Styles panel is not already open on your screen, open it by going up to the Window menu and choosing Styles. As of Photoshop CC 2020, the default styles are grouped into folders, but the style we just saved is sitting below the folders. To apply it to the text, just click on the style's thumbnail, and the entire effect is instantly applied. Finally, what if you want to add a drop shadow to the effect? You might think that you could add it to the type layer itself, but the result may not be what you expect. I'll add a drop shadow by clicking the effects icon at the bottom of the Layers panel and choosing Drop Shadow from the list. Then in the Layer Style dialog box, I'll click the Reset to Default button to clear away my previous settings. A quick way to position your shadow is to simply click and drag away from the text. But here we see the problem. The text itself is being shadowed, but the strokes around the text are not, as if Photoshop can't see them. But we can fix that by first adding the type layer to a layer group and then applying the drop shadow to the group itself. I'll click the Cancel button to close the Layer Style dialog box. To add the text to a group, make sure your type layer is selected. Then click the menu icon in the upper right of the Layers panel and choose New Group from Layers. Give the group a name, I'll name it Text, and then click OK. Back in the Layers panel, the text is now inside a group, which you can twirl open or closed by clicking the arrow to the left of the folder icon. With the group selected, click the Effects icon and choose Drop Shadow. And in the Layer Style dialog box, I'll once again click the Reset to Default button to clear my previous settings. But before we go any further, notice that the Effects column on the left is still cluttered with all the strokes we added to the text. Even though we don't need them anymore, they're still taking up a lot of space. To clear the strokes, click the Effects icon below the effects and choose Reset to Default List. This restores the original list, but it also deselects the drop shadow, so you'll need to reselect it. Then enter your settings. I'll set the angle to 135 degrees, the distance to 36 pixels, and the size, which controls the softness of the shadow edges, to 18 pixels. Your values may be different depending on the size of your text. And this time, because we're applying the drop shadow to the layer group, not to the type layer itself, everything inside the group, including the strokes, is being shadowed. Now I could leave the shadow color set to black, but since the strokes are so colorful, the black looks out of place. To change the color, I'll click the color swatch. And then, instead of using the color picker, I'll click directly on the red stroke to sample it. I'll darken the color by lowering its brightness value to 50%. Then I'll click OK to close the color picker, and I'll click OK to close the Layer Style dialog box. And there we have it. That's how to add multiple strokes around your text using layer effects in Photoshop. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. You can also visit my website, PhotoshopEssentials.com, where you'll find hundreds of Photoshop tutorials. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. I'm Steve Patterson from PhotoshopEssentials.com.